I bought something. So I bought this 1940 Farmall H. It's not in the greatest cosmetic condition, as you can tell, but it has a lot of cool little features to it that I think you'll find really interesting. And I think it's really going to help me here on the farm. First off, I'd like to say a thanks to Grumpy Shop Teacher here on YouTube. He actually sold me this tractor. I thought it was really cool that another YouTuber and I could put a deal together on this thing. I actually found it on Facebook Marketplace. And it was just coincidental that he did YouTube videos as well. So if you go over to his YouTube account, Grumpy Shop Teacher, you can actually see videos of this tractor in operation on his homestead. And now you're going to be able to see videos of it operation on my farm. I think that's pretty neat that this thing's been able to be around the block a few times. So let's do a little bit of a once-over of this tractor, and let me give you a little bit of history on it. It is a 1940 Farmall H. So there's a few ways that you can tell it's a 1940. Let's go over them real quick. First things first, you have a bigger steering wheel. It has 4 sections holding it together there. I'm not sure what you would call that. The seat itself, the way that it is hinged with its suspension, and hole for the all fuel. There would have been a gasoline tank that would have gone here, and this would have been your kerosene tank. Now, a few details on this tractor. It was Grumpy bought it at an auction in Des Moines, Iowa, I believe, and it went to his farmstead over by kind of Macomb area in Illinois, and now it's back over in Peoria area in Illinois. It runs pretty okay. He's done a little bit of work to it. He replaced that tire on the other side. Now, it has a LP manifold and a head off of a 350. You can see these new bolts for the manifold here. Other than that, it's a pretty stock Farmall H from the era. Obviously, we're on rubber. It wasn't converted from steel or anything. Now, I want to tell you the reason I bought this tractor, and you're going to see it right here. This is a M&W 9-speed transmission. When you push it down like it is, it's in low range. And when you pull up on it like that, it's in high range. I'll put a chart somewhere on the screen here, but essentially, low range is gears 1 through 4 on a normal H, and then when you pull that lever up, you go technically 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and then your 5th gear on your transmission is normal. There's no 10th gear, a high range 5th, it's just your stock 5th gear. But you do have first low, first high, second low, second high, and it goes up from there. I've always wanted one of these tractors because here's my 1947 Farmall H. Let's talk about this tractor real quick before we get back to the subject of the video. My grandpa actually bought this tractor in 1985. It was the first tractor he ever bought when he bought the farm here. And it grew from there. There was nothing here. This was a hayfield. So he bought this tractor and it did all the work on the farm for the first few years. It's a stock 47H. There's nothing changed about it. It's got the normal 5-speed transmission with the gear pattern there. The only, I would say, modifications the tractor has is it has an M&W style friction throttle and an AC Delco distributor. I think that's pretty cool. I like that distributor a lot. But I've used this tractor a bunch, and I mainly use it for raking hay, which you have also seen on the channel. If you look into my video archive, you can find video of this tractor raking hay, and it is slow. It is unbearably slow. And last year, well, this year, which is currently 2023, I used my 300, which I'll throw a picture up from, and my Super M, which I'll throw a picture up as well. You know what? Instead of posting a picture, here's the Super M. Now, it doesn't look like a pretty good sight right now, but in the springtime, this is going to be a great running tractor. Currently, it's getting a little bit of engine work. It's going to get a wide front end, amongst other things. Full wiring redo. This is going to be a really great tractor. Has a 3-point, has Charlin style power steering, and it has live hydraulics. Now, since this is a Super M, it's a little bit faster gear ratio than a regular M, making 4th gear on this a really, really good raking speed. However, with being a bigger engine, I think it's actually been hopped up and this thing makes about 45, 50 horsepower. It burns a lot of fuel. But on the other hand, this H sips fuel. I can do about 15 acres of hay on 5 gallons of gas, which, in my opinion, for my operation, is pretty good, especially seeing that I have a gas 806, which I think spends more time getting fueled than it does actually in the field. Let's go ahead and fire this tractor up. And from the get-go, you're going to hear that it's misfiring a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit lean. That's all going to get fixed as we go into diagnostics. So let's choke it. As you can hear, the tractor is misfiring. I think it's only running on 3 cylinders, and when you rev it up, it just stumbles and misses before it finally catches up to speed. Or you'll do that. Now you probably didn't see on the video, but when that happened, we were spitting the oil from the oil bath air cleaner out of the stack. That tells me that the timing on this tractor is also a little bit off. Let's go ahead and get this hood off. Now, I personally have actually never taken the hood off before, so you're getting the first look just as I am. Alright, now that we got the hood off, let's look at a few things. First off, you can tell it's an early H. It has the tall oil filter. Now, it looks like we got a little bit of oil leakage back here by the back of the valve cover. We can take care of that, no problem. It's missing a generator. I actually have a parts H, which I'm going to show you in a moment. We can slap that generator on there. That's going to be no problem. Looks like we're not leaking any coolant out of the coolant temperature sensor. Our oil line going down to our pickup to our sending unit is dry. Wonderful news. Now, if I look in here in the radiator, this radiator is dry as a bone. Which, if we go ahead and pop the cap off, you'll see green at the top. That's great news. When you're wanting to buy one of these old tractors, you're going to want to look at the condition of the radiator. Here on my 47, that radiator in there looks really nice. And I know it's nice because my grandpa got that radiator record back in the early 2000s. This one, I don't know the history on it, but if we look at it, looks pretty similar. Let's go ahead and let's pull a spark plug out of the head of the tractor. This way, I can kind of see what's going on inside of that cylinder. Okay. I think pulling the spark plugs on any internal combustion engine is a great surefire way of seeing what is going on inside of your carburetor. All right. So let's look at this real quick. Let me see if it's in the camera view here. There. Perfect. See that? A lot of carbon. A lot of oil. See all that coming off of my finger? That plug there is fouled out. Now, will the tractor run on this? It probably can, but it's going to do what you're hearing in the video. It's going to be hard to accelerate. It's going to misfire at idle. So we're going to take this nasty plug. You could probably clean it and bring it back a little bit, but I went ahead and bought some new plugs. Now, this is an Autolite 386. A good plug, but I would prefer these in like a 560, a 706, and 806. What we have here is an Autolite 3116. You can also use a Champion 18 or a D21, I believe it's called. Look at that. That is a clean, perfect looking plug. And if your engine is tuned properly and the engine is healthy, it can look like this after hours and hours of use. This is running too rich and getting a little bit of oil in the combustion chamber. So I already put my new spark plug in on the cylinder that we already pulled, and we're going to look here at number 1. Now it looks like, let's see if we can get that on camera. Number 1 has no oil on it, but that is definitely a little bit carboned. You can see I can just brush that carbon off with my finger. So we're just going to replace that. Now, could you clean this? Yes. And have I cleaned plugs like this before? Absolutely. But they're cheap enough. I went ahead and I bought a set of 4. Let's look at number 3. All right, same deal. Just a little bit carboned up there. That's actually not too bad. And number 4. Get that focus. Now that one does not look too bad at all. We're just running a little bit rich by the looks of it. Now if I go back to number 2 that we already pulled, if it'll focus, come on now. You can see the sheen, a little bit wetness. Yep, there's definitely a little bit of oil getting into the cylinder. Now I went ahead and I put our straight pipe back on, and let's see if those new plugs make any difference in the way that this tractor runs. So as you can hear, the tractor is running way better. We have all 4 cylinders. Now, I like straight pipes as much as the next guy, but oh, much better. Now I went ahead and I already broke the 2 bolts loose that hold the distributor in place, and I'm going to tell you right now, those bolts were stuck and this distributor was hard to turn. So I can tell that it's been a long time since this tractor was timed. Now I'm going to go ahead and start it up, let it idle at kind of like a medium to high idle, and we're going to try to tune this tractor by turning the distributor clockwise or counterclockwise. Carburetor probably needs gone through, but I'm going to tell you right now, those plugs and that timing was definitely a big issue as to why this tractor was running bad. Listen to that low idle. Now, you could hear when I revved it up quickly that the tractor did spit and sputter a little bit, so maybe we need to do some tuning on the carburetor, we're going to go ahead and do that really quick. So I'm going to tell you right now, this tractor is running 10 times better. Just sit here. Listen to it sit there and idle. I mean, let's go look at the fan though. Count the revolutions. We're over here on the gas side of the tractor. Now I've shut it down, and first thing I want to do is I want to look inside of this air breather, because from all the things that I know about this tractor, it has not had a cleaner on it on the top here for a very long time. So we're going to crack this open, and we're just going to see what the condition of the oil bath is. That's a little tight. Okay. Wow, that's stuck on there. Boom. Yep. Thank you, fuel tank. Okay, it's starting to come now. Well, I'm just gonna get splashed of oil, I know it. Ooh. Would you care for some soup? Oh. Now I gotta admit, I was worried about something like that. Obviously the water's gotten into the oil, and we've created a milkshake. Kind of like what you'd see if you blow a head gasket on an engine like this. Let's go ahead and take this off. Now, from the looks of it, it doesn't look like any of that slush has actually been going into the carburetor, which, to me, really good sign. Now let's just take a peek at this carburetor. Let me tell you guys a little bit about it. Here you have your idle speed control. This comes out of the governor shaft, and it controls basically how fast your tractor idles. This is your idle air control needle, and this is your load needle, throttle needle, whatever you want to call it. Now, I want to see how far out this thing is. So that's a half, that's a full, that's a half, that's a full, that's a half, that's a full, that's a half. Starting to get a little tight. That's a full. That's a half. That's a full. Okay, I'm not going to go any deeper than that. You can actually hurt these needles if you push them in too far. Now, the only reason I was kind of cranking on that is because these threads here are gummed up. Now, if you count along with me, that was 5 turns, I believe. Maybe. I don't know how I graduated high school, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy out. All the way out. This goes into the bottom of the bowl, which is on the other side of this carburetor. So we're going to see what condition our fuel is coming out of the bowl as well. That needle looks pretty good. Has a little bit of crud on it. Wipe that off. Looks like our fuel rate is pretty okay. Fuel smells a little varnishy, but overall it looks pretty good. Let's get that needle back in there before the EPA starts getting mad at me. And we're going to push this needle all the way back in. Now, if you look at those plugs, it looked like the tractor may have actually been running a little rich, which I'm going to say is the case based on the fact that this was turned out 5 whole turns. But it was still stumbling, so I'm thinking maybe the the main throttle jet inside of the carburetor is leaking, or not leaking, maybe plugged a little bit. Maybe it has a vacuum leak. We can take a look at this gasket right here, and maybe there is a leak around the main, you can't see them on the camera, let's point you up here. Maybe there's a leak around here around the main intake gaskets. It's hard to tell, but first off we're going to start off with the basics. Okay, that's turned in all the way. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn this out half, full, half, full, half. We're out 2.5. That to me is a pretty standard set when you rebuild these carburetors for the first time. Now this is half of what it was before, and actually that needle's leaking a little bit. So it's probably a wise idea to go ahead and go through this carburetor, but for now we're going to start the tractor up and see how it sounds. Womp womp. So I'm running out of daylight, but I went ahead and I got a different battery on the tractor. As you can hear, it's running just. A lot better than it was. Still have some tuning to do. I'll probably end up going through that carburetor and making a video on that, but can't ask for better than that. So let's look at this 9-speed real quick. I'm going to go ahead, put the tractor in first gear, and that's all you get. That's how fast you go. Now, go ahead and stop. We're going to stay in first, pull that all the way to the top of its travel, let out the clutch. Considerably quicker. Now what if we go ahead and jump up to high 3, throttle it up a little bit, that's third gear. Now on my H, my 47, this is about 5th. And you can hear that tractor's firing on all 4 cylinders. The governor response sounds nice. Shift it back down. I think you gotta put it in neutral. Yep, there we go. That's down. I'm still trying to figure it out. Put it in third gear again. Oh, we're missing. You can hear it starting to miss there. Get off. Oh, and I forgot to mention, came with a little tiny toolbox. How cool is that? So this is going to be the end of the first video with the 40H. Listen to that, we've already got it running so much better. It has a few kinks that we need to work out, but this tractor is going to be great for use around the farm with that 9-speed transmission. And look at that. That's just so cool to me. Honk, 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 honk. Honk, 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 honk. Can you be quiet, please? Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna go over this 44 Farmall H real quick. My grandpa bought this in like 1986, 1987 era, and obviously it has a mounted picker on it, and I do have the snoot for the front of it. But this tractor, the engine is locked up solid. I did try to get it running and I could not get it. So we're gonna go ahead and rob parts off of this thing for those 2 other H's. I'm sorry to say it, but you know, you can't save them all. This tractor is gonna give some great parts to that 40 and that 47H. I'm not done yet. And along with that, this picker is coming off and it's gonna go on that 40H. So hopefully this time next fall in like October, November era, we're gonna be able to see that 40H picking corn with this pretty rare Ford 1666 corn picker. I can't wait. Thank you for watching. It's officially almost dark, but I just took the tractor up and down the road a little bit, drove it through the farm lot some, and listen to this. Now that's a lot better than how we started this video, huh?